Hey, podcast listeners. Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. Stay up to date on everything newsworthy by downloading the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free news. That's amazon.com/ad-free news to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Wake up with the news and information you can trust. Starting your day the right way with the Andy Griffin Show. This is News Radio 890, 92.5 KDXU.
Good morning, everybody. 9:08 on KDXU. I'm Andy Griffin. Thank you for tuning in today. I've been doing this show since, took over February 1st, 2019. So 5 years and, 7-8 months, something like that. So it's good to be here. I'm Andy. Thank you so much for listening. Adam Snow is with me today. He is a county commissioner. Adam, thanks for coming in, man. It's good to see you.
Always great to be here, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah. How did you like the Black Desert Championship, the golf here in town, the big guns? And I know you had to take your private jet and move it somewhere else so they could park theirs, right?
Oh, yeah. Thanks a lot. That's going to go over real well. My private jet. I wish. I love airplanes, and I would love to have an airplane, but no, that was not. Nobody asked me to move my jet because I don't have one.
Do you have a pilot's license?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Let's just bring up all the sore spots in my life right now.
I'm joking around. I didn't know you. That's funny. My brother was a pilot. He's passed away now, but he loved flying. I have never gotten the bug. I never had the feeling. I never wanted to be a pilot. To me, it was like,
I did Air Force ROTC in college.
Yeah?
I was number one in my class.
Uh-huh.
I was going to have any pick of any plane in the world, and
you were going to be Tom Cruise.
I was going to go be a fighter pilot, and literally while sitting and doing my paperwork with the colonel of the detachment, he said, "Okay, and your eyes." And my dad's an eye surgeon. I said, "Well, they're not good, but I can get them fixed." And he dropped the pen. He said, "We're done."
No, really?
I said, "What do you mean? My dad has worked on lots of pilots." He said, "Yeah, if you're already a pilot and you need to get them changed, LASIK or something, that's fine, but you can't come in with corrected." And that's changed since then, but at the time I hit the wrong window when I couldn't get them fixed. I love aviation.
I'm sorry about that.
But as far as Black Desert, it was incredible. For all the thousands and thousands of people who came, I hope they had a wonderful time. A little warmer than we usually like. Now I like the heat, so it was.
Did you explain to all the PGA people? It's not usually like this in October.
I think I told every single player I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, what a wonderful event. I mean, Black Desert pulled off a miracle in being able to get ready that fast with everything that they needed to do. The course was incredible. Everybody I talked to just said that, wow. I mean, that's just all they kept saying. Every player was just, wow.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. And it was a great event because it's not unlike some of the other endurance sports where we kind of have to shut down half the city.
Yeah.
This was kind of tucked over there. I thought the shuttle system that they had was, for people being able to park other places and was fantastic. I have not heard one complaint.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. My son's a realtor here in town, and I asked him, I said, so have you seen, with that tournament, have you seen people now coming that maybe watched it on TV and said, hey, I want to live in a place like that? He said, not yet. He said he expects in the next few weeks he'll start to get people like that say, I want to be here. He said, but he said it's a little too early. He also said, during the tournament it was kind of dead because everybody was watching the tournament instead of coming and trying to buy a house from him out there in Desert Cutler. But do you think that's going to be? I mean, dumb question, right? But do you think that's going to have an effect on people looking at this place, this incredible place that we live, and going, yeah, I saw that on TV. I think I'd like to go there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen that, especially during COVID where everything else was shut down so much. People would come here to go to Zion because it was open. We were, Washington County was by and large all open. And so people would come here because it's the one place they could go and they'd see it and they say, oh my goodness, I want to be here. They see it on, Ironman and other events that are, widely televised. And so we know from people that come, some of it just being anecdotal and some of it being firsthand experience when they come to the visitor center, they talk to people and they say, I saw this on the Golf Channel. I saw this online. And I had to come see it. And once they get here, they, like the rest of us, they want to stay here. So with golf, I think it'll be a little bit slower burn for that residual effect off of this.
Maybe a long-term thing, kind of.
I think so. Yeah, that's kind of what we're planning on. I've got a lot of friends that I'm a very poor golfer. I love to golf, but I'm not very good.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. But I wish I was a better golfer. But the number of people that I know that are big golfers, but they plan years out. Hey, I watched this tournament at this course, and I now want to go play that one, but I'm a year out on tee times, and then while I'm there, I'm going to hit these other 3 course, Plantation down in Palm Springs or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But they plan a ways out to get a group of guys or a group of women to go down and play, and so we know we'll get effects off of this positive economic impact for years.
I know I have friends, their bucket list involves a lot of golf courses, Pebble Beach, Augusta, places like that. They're like, yeah, my bucket list is I want to play here, and I want to play here, and I want to play here, and maybe, just maybe, Black Desert just got added to the list.
I think so. It looked so good in person, and it looked even better on TV. It was great.
And even online, social media, I'm seeing pictures, drone shots from above and stuff of the incredible contrast of the beautiful fairways and greens, and then the red rocks and the black lava rock. I mean, it was spectacular.
It really is. And I had I think once in a lifetime opportunity to play in the Pro-Am on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that course, when you're on it, for some reason, I don't know what, I got to talk to Patrick Manning about what he did, but it's almost spongy. Yeah. The grass, I mean, it's unlike any other grass I've ever walked on. It was just so light and perfect in every possible way. Contrasted with the black rocks, the red hills, the snow canyon, you've got Pine Valley. I mean, it was the blue sky. It was a symphony of perfection in a lot of ways.
Nice. Now, you played in the Pro-Am. Was it a 4-man scramble or a best ball 2-man or?
So it was a 4-man shamble. So you play.
What does that mean?
You play everybody. Well, the pro was not really involved. So I had invited some state legislators down to talk about transient room taxes and economic development through tourism and things that we're doing. So that was the purpose of us playing in it. And so you take your best drive, right? So whoever gets the best drive,
sure.
Everybody else is going to pick up their ball. But the pro only on a par 3. So he's playing his own ball the whole time.
Really?
The other 3 of us get to kind of play a scramble, but only on the first ball. From there, you're playing your own ball the rest of the way through, and then you take the team score.
Okay,
is how that goes. It was a little embarrassing though, Andy, because I almost killed my pro. We played with the first 9 holes. I played with Hayden Buckley, really really nice guy. He was great. And then the second 9 hole, the back 9, we played with Cameron Champ, who made the cut, and he did quite well in this tournament. But he was standing over there talking to his coach and his caddy, and kind of, this is a preview for them. And I go to chip hit about an 80-yard shot. So I've got my pitching wedge there, and I don't know what I did wrong. But he was standing directly in front of me about 50 yards away, and I hit it so hard, it was a line drive for his head.
How do you hit a line drive with a pitching wedge?
I don't know. And the wrong direction, too. It came off the toe of the club, and he dove one way, his caddy dove the other. It was like Moses parting the Red Seas. I'm not saying they moved their head a little. I'm saying they went to the ground.
Dived, yeah.
It hits his golf bag, bounces over, hits the rock, it goes over the grandstand. And I just ran up and said, I am so sorry. I wasn't trying to hurt you. And he goes, that's all right, man. I knocked a guy out cold last year, and I'm a pro. So I felt better about myself, but that's about the level of my golf game right now.
I went golfing with my dad years ago, and we're on the fairway, second shot off the tee. So the second shot, and he's up to my left. I would say you can almost do a right angle, or not a right angle, but an acute triangle. Mm-hmm. He's off to my left and ahead of me, and I hit the ball, and I think it was like maybe a 5-iron or a 4-iron, and hit a line drive just like that. And my dad, it was right at my dad. And I remember him kind of getting in that stance, that little football stance, like you're ready to go, and the ball's coming at him. And I could almost see the wheels turning in his head, like, where do I go that this ball is not going to hit me? And he finally went straight down. He just went flat on the ground, and it flew right where would have hit him right in the head if he hadn't hit the deck. So, yeah, I had a similar experience.
Blessed for fast reflexes, right?
Yeah, and he was, he was probably in his 40s at the time, maybe 50s. So pretty good reflexes and pretty bad shot by me. And I'm probably a worse golfer than you are, if you can believe that.
I set the bar pretty low, so.
I did play, I played in the Nevada Pro-Am many years ago, and with Marty, remember Marty Barrett from the Boston Red Sox? He was, so the famous 86 World Series where the ball rolls through Bill Buckley's legs?
Yes.
He was playing second base to Bill Buckner. He watched it. He was the closest guy to the ball when it rolled through his legs. Anyway, Marty Barrett was my cart mate. And then we had a pro and another guy, and I was the high handicap guy because they always like to get somebody with a handicap that's through the roof so they can bring their score down and stuff. But, they did not use a single shot of mine, drive or chip or anything, but I was a pretty good putter. I made a couple of really nice long putts. So
nice. Hey, drive for show, putt for dough, right?
Exactly. As a high handicap guy, they always let you hit first too, and pretty much most of the day it was pretty frustrating for them.
Let me give you a line. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm never going to drop it in,
The line is, why did that ball never leave the ground? Why is it the worm burner?
You shouldn't get any loft with your putter.
Yeah, no.
I thought it was great that we had one of our own here too. Jadon Blake got to play in his 500th tournament.
Incredible. It
was great. Yeah. What a wonderful thing for him. I watched him play quite a bit on Thursday and followed him around.
I saw a picture of him, a picture when he very first tournament and was the 500th tournament, and he doesn't really look that different. I mean, there's some gray hair and a few wrinkles, but for the most part, he looks pretty good.
No, he's aged well.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of golf. Think about it. You're out there in those beautiful places all over the world every day.
I don't golf enough, though. I always get, when I do golf, I get sore hands and a sore back. So, yeah, I've kind of given up golf for the most part.
Yeah, I probably should.
So anyway, bottom line, economic impact of this golf tournament. Do you feel like immediate impact? Do you think there was a lot of money brought into our town to help us?
Certainly some. I talked to a lot of people that were, golf, the people who really are into golf and into the PGA have some bucks, right? So, by and large. And so I think there was certainly some impact. We won't know for a little while, until we get the numbers of ticket sales and everything from the PGA. We were sold out a couple of the days. And close to sold out the other two. So it was a lot of people here. How many were from out of town? We're still calculating, but just in those that I talked to, many were not from Utah. I talked to people from all over the country. They had come in and flew in just for this. They just wanted to come see the PGA. So we know we'll get that impact. And again, like I said earlier, there will be the greater impact by far will be over the coming years, months and years, with people who want to come see this course. And as they continue to have the LPGA in the spring and the PGA again next year, and in the years of this, it'll just continue to build.
We have also a couple of other events that have happened. Of course, the St. George Marathon, huge event and exciting, and I think it was the 48th St. George Marathon. And then kind of flying under the radar is the Huntsman World Senior Games going on right now. And that involves, because you're a county commissioner, it involves so many different communities and different venues throughout the county that's kind of a Washington County thing to have the Huntsman World Senior Games around. Do you know much about the history of how it ended up here?
I'm not sure how it ended up here, other than I think we had just have the perfect place, and so it worked out well. But we are heavily involved in that. I've got a lot of our staff October is a busy month for them. Yeah. Starting with the marathon and ending, because everybody, generally our weather is so perfect and beautiful this time of year, everybody wants to be here in October. But the Huntsman World Senior Games is a great story, because if you think about it, they've got almost 2,000 more athletes competing. Because some people, they say, that's the World Senior Games. That, it's in Little St. George. That's great. Whatever. Yeah. They have, to put it in perspective, they have almost 2,000 more athletes competing than the World Olympics in Paris this year.
Yeah, the big time, the World Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah, more. More athletes. That's how many people are here in this town right now over the next 2 weeks competing. That really puts it in perspective. Is the impact of that is millions and millions of dollars to our economy. Yeah, it's huge. So remember that whenever anybody gets a little annoyed about having some disruption in traffic or something, that
One of the secrets I always had in this town was if you want to go to a dinner and not have a lot of waiting and stuff, you go at 4:00, right? That's when all the seniors that are in town go to eat dinner right now. So that doesn't work right now.
Yeah.
Give it a couple of weeks and you can do that again. But,
your secret's out on that one. All of them,
Now, Adam, you're not. How close are you to 50 to getting into competing in the World Senior?
I've got some years to go still, so I'm okay.
Okay. How many? You don't want to tell me? Five,
6 years.
6 years, yeah. I competed for the first time a few years back, and unfortunately, I had some injury problems. But our team won silver medal in the World Senior Games in basketball, and that was cool. So
the governor was down here for the PGA, and I was talking to him right before we handed out the trophy on Sunday evening, and I said, he's 49, so he can compete next year. And I said, Governor, you like to golf? You golf a lot. Why don't you come and try and compete? And he said, I've got to find a sport that I think I could probably win, because these are some incredible athletes, actually. We've got somebody who's running.
Sure.
She's in her 90s, and she's running this week or next week. If you've seen some of these guys playing softball, 50 is not that old.
No,
and
they're good.
And they're good athletes. Yeah. And so he's trying to find a sport right now that he thinks he might be able to be competitive in.
There is a race going on next week. They're calling it the Race of the Centuries because there are only two runners in the 50-meter dash that are over the age of 100.
Oh, my goodness.
Two guys are going to compete mano a mano at 50-meter dash. I think that's cool.
That is incredible. That's awesome. Yeah. I don't want to do the 50-meter dash now, and I'm less than half that age.
Yeah. Can we do 20? 25? I'm good. We're talking with Adam Snow today, County Commissioner. Today is the day that the ballots are being mailed out in the state of Utah. All over the state of Utah, ballots are being mailed out. You should have them the next day or two in your mailbox. And there's a lot, and we're going to talk about it more as we progress. We've got a commercial break in about 5 minutes. But, Adam, there's a lot of people who say, mail-in ballots. They're going to cheat and the chain of custody of the ballot and all this stuff. But right now the rules are that mail-in ballots are the way it is in, I think we decided, 46 out of 50 states. Early voting, mail-in ballots. So you can complain about it all you want, but them's the rules, folks. So get after it.
Yeah, and we're governed by state law, obviously. So those 46 states, and you said the District of Columbia, that have chosen to do that. That's not a federal mandate. That's a state mandate. Mm-hmm. But Utah, which is who governs, Washington County law, Utah legislature has said that everything will be done primarily by mail-in ballot. And if it's not, the primarily by mail-in ballot is the default. If you actually read through the law, it's actually only by mail-in ballot, but you can also do some in-person voting or early voting if you need to. So we do that as well. You can vote in person. You can vote by mail. You can mail it, and you can drop it off. I highly recommend, especially given what happened over the summer with some of the postmark issues, because our mail all goes to Las Vegas to be sorted and then returned back to Utah. Down here, that you drop it off. We have locations at every library, at the county building, many of the city offices. They're picked up every day. They're all under security, 24/7 security surveillance video. That is the way to ensure that your ballot is received and in the hands of the county clerk, because that's what the law says. And there's good stories on other sides of, I swear I mailed it in, and I'm not saying you didn't. But the law is what it is, and it says there's got to be a cutoff, and so the postmark is the way that the law says that we have to acknowledge when it was sent, and there's not an exception for unless you have a really good story, or unless you promise us.
And you mean it doesn't say in there? Well, if this happened, you're okay. We'll let it slide.
No, that's not in the law.
Okay.
So we follow the law right now, and the mail-in ballot. The point is that I think the legislature, the intent was that many people like to sit at home at the kitchen table and look up the issues and look up the candidates and do their research, and that's why voter participation generally goes up. And so again, that's not a county decision. That was the state law. That's what we have to follow, and so your ballots are coming in the mail, and we encourage everybody to vote.
if you do want to mail it, given what Adam was just saying about the last election and some postmarks, if you still feel like you want to mail it, do it sooner rather than later. If you wait till the last day, you're not going to get any sympathy or pity from the county or the state that, hey, you know, it got postmarked a day late and because it went to Nevada. Sorry, them's the rules, like I said earlier. So if you're going to mail it in a week or two early. You know, I mean, you're getting it 3 weeks early almost. So, I mean, you could actually sit down tomorrow if it comes in the mail tomorrow or the next day and fill it out and mail it in tomorrow or the next day and have it out of your hair. So, you know,
and we have a phenomenal county clerk, Ryan Sullivan. He and his staff, after the primary, with all the issues with the postmarks that we saw and heard about, he took 11 letters to different places around the county, different types of, you know, the cluster boxes in neighborhoods. He went to the post office in certain places. He went, you know, dropped them at a blue box, at a, you know, post office box at a grocery store. I mean, he documented. I put it in at this time on this date, you know, and took pictures and everything. And every single one of them was postmarked as you would expect, right? If he dropped it off after the pickup time at that box, it was postmarked the next day as you would expect, right? If he put it in by 2:30 and it was pickup time at 3 p.m., it was postmarked that day as you would expect, with one exception. And there's no reason, because he put 2 different letters, and one of them was postmarked 2 days later. So out of 11 tests, one of them was a little delayed. And there's no reason for it, and he's talked to the postmaster and other, but things just happen sometimes. It's an imperfect system, and so don't wait until that very last second. Drop it off at one of the boxes. It's a drive up, and you can drop it off 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's an interesting above and beyond type thing that Ryan did to do that, and it kind of puts a little bit in some of the arguments that people were making. Well, I mailed it on time and it got postmarked, like, because if 10 out of 11, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's 91% or 92%, somewhere in there, were postmarked correctly as per what time they were turned in. All these people claiming they sent theirs in and it was postmarked 2 days later, that kind of doesn't really jive with what they're saying.
And it shows that maybe you are one of those.
Yeah, no, but it's rare. It's uncommon, not common.
Yes,
it's an exception instead of the rule.
It is uncommon, but it could have happened, and therefore, don't be that guy.
Don't wait. Yeah,
get it in earlier, or just drop it off so you know it's got to be postmarked the day before the election. So it's got to be postmarked by Monday, not the day of the election. So again, if you're that close, just come drop it off.
Just drop it off. I recall back in this was in high school. I had a teacher that would said, your report is due such and such a time, and everybody got the report in. And I just remember I had the report, but I had forgotten to bring it with me to school. And I said, hey, it's done. I have it at home. Can I bring it in tomorrow? And the teacher was like, no. I said, what do you mean no? I said, well, it's done. If my mom wasn't at work, she could bring it to me right now. It's just that she's at work. And the teacher was like, look, here's the deal. If I make an exception for you and to break this rule, what does that do to my rule of, deadlines? All of a sudden my deadline is meaningless.
Yeah.
And, if I make an exception for you, I have to make an exception for everybody. And all of a sudden, I don't know if your report is actually done or not. I want to believe you, but I don't know. So if I start making these exceptions, then the rule becomes not a rule anymore.
And I've got a great one to piggyback. That's a fantastic analogy, because while doing the full recount, Ryan also received 2 ballots from years ago.
Really?
From 2 years ago.
Wow. So
that nobody had ever mailed in. Now, it's still the same yellow envelope, right? So it looks similar. It's been sitting on somebody's kitchen counter for a long time. If we're going to make an exception, like you just said, should we also go back and amend the results from 2 years ago and add 2 more ballots into that? We got to cut it off at some point.
Yeah, great point. He's Adam Snow. I'm Andy. We'll take a commercial break and be back with more on the Andy Griffin Show after this.
Wake up with the news and information you can trust. This is the Andy Griffin Show on News Radio 890, 92.5 KDXU, Southern Utah's News Talk leader.
Welcome back. I'm Andy. It's 9:36 on KDXU. We have our monthly visit from Adam Snow, but it's a monthly visit from a county commissioner. And then Adam Snow is one of the three that comes on. So Adam is here, and it's always good to have Adam. Gil was actually supposed to come last month. I had to reschedule some things, and we rescheduled him for a different date, and then he couldn't come on the date that I had rescheduled. So we actually didn't hear from a commissioner last month. So,
and the people are the worst for it. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I am sorry, Andy. We will not do that again.
I have a little Gil story. So Gil used to be, his former life, he was a landscaper.
Yes.
Right? So we were looking at getting the flip blitz. We were looking at getting some turf, artificial turf, and some plants put in our front yard in place of the grass. So one evening, I'm sitting around and I'm going, I know somebody that used to be a landscaper, and he probably has some really good recommendations. So I'm like, I'm going to call Gil. This was about, I want to say, let me do the math on this. It's about 7 o'clock at night. So I called Gil, and he answers on the first ring. I'm like, wow, all right, and he's like, but he sounded a little drowsy. Hello, and I'm like, Gil, hey, what's going on, man? He goes, nothing. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm in Germany. I was like, wait, you what? He says, yeah, I'm in Germany, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning in Germany because they're 8 hours later than us. So 7 o'clock at night for me, I'm thinking, that's a decent time to call, but not if you're in Germany. And he was back, him and his wife were back visiting. Now, he said to me, I'm going to be honest with you, I was awake anyway because we just barely got here like the day or two before, and we're still on Utah time,
sure,
our bodies. And so we're laying here, and it feels like it's 7 o'clock at night, even though it's 3 in the morning. We're laying here not sleeping, and I could hear his sweet wife talking in the background saying, I wasn't asleep either. But he gave me some great advice. We were able to get a good landscaper in and get our yard done. In fact, Zach over there, the Water Conservancy guys, they got inspection done. We got okayed. We got a notary we had to sign some stuff, and we're going to get a check back. So
yep.
Very cool stuff.
It's for non-functional turf. It's a great system to help us save a little bit of water.
Well, I took it when Zach would come on, he would say, if the only time you ever set foot on grass, a particular stretch of grass is to mow it, then you probably ought to take it out. That was that section of our front yard was the only time we ever touched it was to mow it. So, So we did. We put artificial turf in, and the recommendation from Gil was a very good one. I'm trying to decide if I should say his name. He's not a paid advertiser, so I'm not really supposed to mention, but Brian Hatch did a fantastic job. So.
Oh, good. Yeah, Gil definitely knows what he's talking about with trees and landscape. 40-year career.
Yeah.
He's learned a lot, but he also has a passion for trees. We lovingly call him the Lorax around the county building because we drive to a meeting.
He kind of looks like the Lorax, actually, now that you mention it. If he could get him to grow a mustache.
Get a mustache, that'd be great. Gil, grow a mustache, Gil. But we'll be driving around. He'll say, I planted that tree. Now that's a Russian pistachio, red pistachio over here. And then this is a Holmgren's tall pecan. And it's like...
It only flowers certain weeks of the year, but between October 7th and November 3rd. And you're like, how do you know this?
He loves them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Loves them.
I have a friend who was a tree, forget the name of he was some kind of ologist having to do with trees. It wasn't an arborist, but it was something like that. But he could tell you by the kind of tree it was and how big it was, pretty much within a year how old it was. He could look at it and go, yeah, wow, that tree is X years old. I'm like, how do you know that? Well, he spent a lot of his life doing, how they put the little core in there and then they pull the core out and you can see the rings of the age of the trees. And he spent a lot of his life, figuring out the age of trees and he just knew. It was pretty cool. So
that's very cool.
Good job, Randy. We're talking with Adam Snow today a little bit about the election coming up. I'm looking at the ballot and sample ballot, by the way, at washco.utah.gov if you want to go there and look at the ballot. It's 2 pages, 2 full pages of election. And there quite a few are unopposed. You look at like some of the county Tom Durant, the assessor Ryan Sullivan, the clerk auditor Gary Christensen, and recorder David White. They're unopposed, right? So they're going to win. All it takes is one person to fill. I guess if nobody at all filled out any dots, then it would end up as a 0-0.
You're going to hope they vote for themselves at least.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. But but it's a full ballot, and if you look at, obviously, you're voting for President of the United States, and by the way, there's a guy named Lucifer Everylove on the ballot. Now, I don't know anything about this guy, and I don't want to, promote him, but his middle name is, in quotations, just in case.
Yeah, I just saw that. I'm going to have to message. I mean, this is the sample ballot. Everything else on here is correct, so I'm going to guess that's
legit.
Lucifer, just in case, Everylove.
Yeah, that's the name. Just in case what? Just in case. I don't.
I'm going to run just in case I get enough people. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know that he's going to be a strong contender, but what a great name.
Yeah. I'm thinking probably not his real name, but obviously Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are on there. Trump running with J.D. Vance and Harris running with Tim Walz. That's the one everyone's talking about. But that's not the only thing on the ballot, right, Adam? I mean, there's a few other things.
Yeah, no, we've got state Senate, U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives. We've got the governor's race is on here, attorney general, state auditor is up this year, state treasurer is up this year.
I got to ask you on the governor. Are you allowed to have an opinion on the whole Lyman thing and writing? People want to write his name in and stuff. Or do you, as a county commissioner, are you kind of stay neutral on that one?
No, I'm certainly allowed to have an opinion. Yeah,
because Spencer Cox won the primary quite handily, as a matter of fact, like 20 points or something.
Yep.
But the Lyman folks think that Cox cheated in buying signatures or whatever, and Lyman actually won at the delegation, and so they're like, write Lyman in and let's get Cox out of there. What do you think about all that?
I think I'm sympathetic in a lot of ways because I do see some language in if you look at the Republican Party bylaws. Mm-hmm. There is language that says anybody who wins over 60% shall proceed to the general election ballot.
Right.
And so Phil Lyman qualified for that. But you can't look at that in a vacuum because the state party constitution does not trump state law. So, the state party is a private organization, right?
Right.
State law applies to everybody, and the state law says through SB 54, some people like, some people hate, right? So the whole separate discussion, but that law says these are the other ways to get on the ballot. I don't think that appeases some people. I think but I think they get more involved in my guy won or lost rather than this is what the law says. And so I choose to follow the law on this one. But then the voters, so what some people say, well, there should have never been a primary, right? Cox, did he qualify? Spencer Cox, did he qualify for the race or not? For the primary, and that's a whole separate thing that's already been adjudicated, and he's.
Let me give you an analogy. So I broadcast thousands of games over the years, and one of the sports I really love to do is baseball. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times I've had guys in my broadcast with me or guys that I've listened to doing other games. A guy will maybe get caught stealing. The very next guy hits a home run, and the broadcaster almost invariably says, "Oh, if he hadn't gotten caught stealing, that would have been a 2-run home run." Well, no. It's like the whole vacuum you were talking about. In baseball, if the guy hadn't gotten caught stealing, he might have been on first base, but maybe the batter then takes a different approach at the plate. Maybe he bunts to sacrifice the guy over. Maybe he's going for a single instead of trying to hit one out of the park. We don't know because the circumstance changed. It's the same thing with this whole SB 54. We don't know how hard Spencer Cox would have pushed to win the delegates to win that part of things if he didn't already know that he was already going to be on the primary ballot.
Yeah, fair point.
So, and I'm not, people understand, I am not a big Spencer Cox fan. I am not, I have my own personal feelings about some of the things that he's done, but I don't feel like their argument is legitimate to say, well, Phil won, the convention, so he should be the guy, not Cox, because Cox just did the signature. I think if you were to do away with the whole signature thing, and then those two have a fair race on who gets the delegates, then we can talk. But until then,
very fair point. I think honestly, at this point, I think the time has passed on that. I think that I'm going to quote Senator Lee, who I was just with a couple times this last week, and he said, he said very publicly, he tweeted out, and that the time for primaries are for time for robust debate on policy and on candidates. But when that is over, and the voters of Utah spoke, right? And Spencer, on that race, at least, Spencer Cox came out victorious.
Big time, yep.
I think that time is now over, and for me personally, he said, am I allowed to have an opinion? I do, and I'm a strong conservative, and I have the candidates that I like, and I'm now backing, the people that have won that I think are going to do the best job with those that are on this general election ballot.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's productive going back in history to try and change history. This is where we're at today, and we can continue to complain about the past, or we can try and unify and get behind those that we think are going to do the best job with those names that are on the ballot, right? And maybe your Senate candidate lost in the primary, but John Curtis is the one for the Republican Party right now, right? And so that you don't get to go back and say, well, but I still like my guy better. Well, that's fine, like your guy better, but he's not on the ballot right now.
On a national perspective, there are people who say, well, it shouldn't be Donald Trump because he's such a polarizing figure.
Sure.
There are people who who aren't going to vote for Donald Trump, not because they love Kamala Harris, but because he's Donald Trump, and they're not going to vote for him. And I'm sure there are quite a few Republicans who could say, man, if we had someone that wasn't quite so brash in that position. Well, here's the thing. Like you were just saying, you don't have someone that isn't quite so brash in that position. You have Donald Trump as a Republican representative for president. So your choices now are Donald Trump or the Democrat, Kamala Harris, or one of the independents, Mr. Everylove or whatever. Mm-hmm. And really, you can, like you said, you can, pardon the expression, bitch and moan about what might have been, but what might have been isn't reality.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a good thing for everybody to remember, and that, there's a lot, and it goes in both ways, right? When we're talking about the Republican candidates, but I've heard people say the same thing. Well, if only Kamala wasn't our candidate, right? Well, if only Joe had gotten out early. Well, all of that is in the past.
It doesn't matter.
You couldn't get President Biden out earlier, right? I mean, he didn't do that. So why are we talking about it?
Yeah.
This is the situation we have right now, and you're voting for who you think is going to do the best thing for the values and the platform that you hold.
You heard it right here with Adam Snow, County Commissioner. We'll be right back.
All the latest news, weather, traffic, and sports, just like you like them. You're waking up with the Andy Griffin Show on News Radio 890, 92.5 KDXU, Southern Utah's news talk leader.
I'm Andy. I'm hanging out with Adam Snow, County Commissioner. I'm Andy Griffin, radio show host, and I don't know what else. I do a lot of sports stuff, so I guess I'm a sports guy too. It's kind of funny, Adam. I've been doing this job for over 5 years. This morning show gig. I run into people in the community all the time, every day almost, that say, "Hey," and ask me about sports, and I still do sports, but I thought I had gone beyond that, and I had gotten people like, "Oh yeah, he's the morning show host. He's politics and stuff like that." No, they all want to talk about sports. So
because sports is so much more fun than talking about politics.
That's what my wife says. She's like, "You don't want to talk about politics all day, every day, do you?" I was like, "Nah, I kind of enjoy it." I
was talking to our county attorney the other day, and I told him, I said, everybody armchair. I don't know why armchair quarterback became a term, because nobody thinks they could go out and be better than Patrick Mahomes. They may think I can tell Mahomes what he should have done, but nobody thinks they could actually outperform Mahomes.
Not a chance, yeah.
Or Tom Brady, whoever it might be. I said, why didn't armchair politician become a term? And he looked at me and he leans forward and he goes, because nobody wants to be a politician. Everybody wants to be a quarterback. And I was like, that's true. See, sports is way more fun, Andy, and own that one. Nobody wants to talk about politics.
When I was a little kid, growing up in Texas, we lived 40 miles from Austin. I so bad wanted to be the quarterback for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah.
I mean, I even have my Longhorns.
You're wearing it right now.
And when I started getting bigger and realizing, even though I had a good arm, I was bigger than most other kids, and I was like, okay, well, I'll be a lineman for the Longhorns. That was, my life goal, and I'll parlay that into an NFL career and be rich and have beautiful women chasing me everywhere. And that didn't work out either, by the way. I did get one beautiful woman, but
one woman, just not women. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the whole everybody wants to be a quarterback is absolutely true. And I think, at least at some point in their life, every young boy wants to be a quarterback someday. So
right now, I want to be a PGA golfer, and I don't think that's going to happen.
No, probably not. Although you have a better chance than Charles Barkley. You ever seen his swing?
It's a goofy swing.
He has a hitch halfway through. Yeah. He starts the swing and then stops. And it's like, what are you doing? And then he continues it. And it's like, yeah.
But he still hits it farther than I do, so.
Yeah. Back to the ballot. Again, if you want a sample ballot, now you'll be getting the real ballot in the mail here in the next day or two. But if you want to look at what the ballot looks like, they have a sample ballot at washco.utah.gov. There are, surprisingly to me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different presidential candidates, including, of course, the Democrat and Republican. You got the Green Party. You got the Libertarian. You got two of them are unaffiliated, Cornel West and that Lucifer Everylove person. How much? I'm trying to figure out what would be the motivation to put a goofy what's in it for him?
Notoriety? I don't know. I've never heard of this person, but I will be researching. So hey, maybe it worked.
Yeah, I guess. U.S. Senate, you got 3 candidates. You got Carlton Bowen, and then you got the Republican and Democrat, John Curtis and Caroline Gleach, I think is her name.
Yep.
U.S. House District 2, you got Nathaniel Woodward, the Democrat, Cassie Easley, the Conservative Party, Tyler Merced, unaffiliated, and, of course, Celeste Malloy will more than likely win that one by a whole bunch. And the governors, you got Spencer Cox, Tommy Williams, Brian King, Robert Latham, and Tom Tomini. I don't know who that is. And then, of course, the spot for write-in for the Phil Lyman supporters. I voted for Phil Lyman in the primary. I wanted Phil Lyman to win. I just don't think he has any kind of chance to actually win this thing, and so I feel like I'd be throwing my vote away if I tried to write him in at this point. So
write-in candidates are hard, especially where they used to be able to get maybe like a sticker to put it on, right? And you can mail that. But it's hard. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is. He's got an uphill battle.
Improbable might be a better word for it than impossible. Attorney General, you got Derek Brown, the Republican, Rudy Bautista, the Democrat, Andrew McCullough, Austin Hepworth, and Michelle Quist. State Auditor Tina Cannon, Jeffrey Osler. That's your Republican. The Conservative Democrat is Catherine Vutaz, who I've never heard of. State Treasurer Miles Pomeroy, Marlo Oaks, a Republican, and Neil Hansen, the Democrat. And then we won't spend any time on it, but running also is a guy by the name of Adam Snow for County Commissioner. For the State Senate District 29, Deidre Richart, the Democrat, versus Republican Don Ibsen. State School Board 1, Larry Myers versus Heidi Gunn. And I'm looking, most of the others are unopposed. Oh, you have Walt Brooks against Joshua Dutson in District 75. And, most of the others. There are some, do you know anything about these proposed amendments? And any of those stick out to you as being more important than the others?
I do. It's probably actually worth noting that Amendment A and Amendment D are on the ballot because the ballots had to be printed, but they won't be counted. Yeah. Both of those have been removed by court order, and so because of the court saying that the legislature didn't follow all of the publication rules, which probably needs to be updated. One of the publications, it has to be printed X number of days in advance in a print newspaper. Yeah.
Do we have any of those left?
But it's kind of hard to find print newspapers anymore. It's not the way to reach the broad public.
We need to fix that law, don't we?
So it's just Amendment B and Amendment C are the two that are actually really still on the ballot.
All right. That will be coming again in your mailbox in the next probably 48 hours. And Adam, thanks for enlightening us on some of the topics. We've actually run out of time today, but it's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Time flies when you're having fun, Andy. Thanks for having me, as always.
We love our sports analogies, too. So.
Yes.
He's Adam Snow. I'm Andy Griffin. Thanks for listening today. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Oh, we got a cool lineup for you. Dave Romer, Sean Christensen on the show tomorrow.